Welcome back to the deep dive. Today, we're plunging into a question that, well, it touches all of us really. Are our schools actually getting us ready for the future? Or are they kind of stuck? For this deep dive, we've gathered some really interesting sources, observations, analyses, different takes on education right now. Our job basically is to sift through it all and pull out the important bits for you,
hmm
give you that shortcut to getting up to speed on this.
And what's really insightful here isn't just what's happening, but why it's so important. These sources connect the dots between education trends and, well, the huge shifts happening in society. Gives you a real sense of the groundwork for tomorrow.
Okay, right. Let's get into it. We'll start with the good news, where education is actually adapting. One big thing our sources point to is how schools are starting to include these emerging fields.
Yeah.
Things like AI, robotics, data science, even environmental tech are showing up in curricula.
Which is critical.
Exactly. And a great example mentioned is India's national education policy, NEP 2020. They're talking about coding and AI from grade 6. But the key insight isn't just the coding itself. It's more about fostering that analytical thinking, that tech fluency, understanding the logic. That's the real future-proofing part.
Yeah, building on that, this isn't just a minor tweak. It's a direct response to what people are calling the fourth industrial revolution.
Yeah.
That whole merging of digital, physical, biological worlds. It's changing everything. So giving students these skills, it's not just helpful, it's essential if they're going to actually shape the future workforce, not just react to it.
Okay, but what about just pure access, information itself?
Hmm.
Our sources really stress how the internet has, well, kind of blown the DIMS open on learning. A student in a really remote area can potentially access the same stuff as someone in a major city. Think about platforms like YouTube, Khan Academy, the National Digital Library of India, even tools like ChatGPT. A lot of this is free. It lets students learn at their own pace, explore things they're curious about. It's a level of access that just wasn't there before.
And that idea, the democratization of knowledge,
hmm
it's powerful. Its potential to genuinely level the playing field globally.
Hmm.
That's huge. It really shifts power to the learner, regardless of where they start.
So technology connects us globally, right? But the pandemic kind of forced a different connection too, changing the day-to-day. Let's talk about blended learning. That mix of physical classroom time and online stuff. A lot of schools jumped into this, maybe out of necessity at first,
Sure.
but our sources suggest it's actually sticking around. And it's doing more than just teaching tech skills. It's teaching students how to manage their own time, their own learning. And you can see how that self-management is vital, right? Especially with remote work becoming so common. Plus, it helps cater to different learning styles, gives students a bit more control.
Right. And when we talk about a permanent shift, it's not just about using Zoom. The sources emphasize that blended learning is cultivating this adaptability, preparing students for, well, lifelong learning in a world where information and jobs are constantly changing. It's about being self-directed.
Okay, shifting gears a bit, but related. There's this growing awareness around soft skills, things beyond just the technical know-how. Education systems are slowly, maybe too slowly for some, starting to really value things like emotional intelligence, communication, leadership, teamwork.
Yeah, they're becoming just as important.
We're seeing more group projects, public speaking, debates, mentoring programs actually baked into the curriculum. These aren't just extras anymore. They're seen as core skills needed for jobs involving, human interaction or complex problem solving.
And the insight here is it's not just about the job market, though that's part of it. It's about building resilience. Technical skills might become obsolete, right? But being able to communicate, collaborate, lead, those are evergreen. It's about preparing the whole person.
Definitely. And wrapping up this positive side, let's touch on gamified and AI-enhanced learning. This is pretty exciting stuff. Our sources point to how making learning interactive, even fun, can be really effective. Think Duolingo for languages it feels like a game. Or Kahoot, quizzes, turning quizzes into something competitive and engaging.
Yeah, those are great examples.
And then there's the AI side. AI tutors, maybe like ChatGPT, offering real-time help, personalized feedback, instantly. It makes education feel more accessible, more customized, and honestly, probably more appealing to younger learners who grew up with this kind of immediate, tailored digital experience.
And the potential transformation there is really about that personalization. Moving away from that one-size-fits-all model, AI and gamification can adapt to you, your pace, your style, maybe even your interests. It's getting closer to education feeling truly bespoke.
Okay, so we've seen some really promising developments how education is trying to adapt. But now, let's face the challenges, the obstacle course, as we called it. Because despite the progress, there are some big, stubborn hurdles. And maybe the biggest one our sources identify is this. We're running an industrial era system in a digital world.
That's a fundamental mismatch.
It really is. The traditional system, designed for factory work, right? Fixed schedules, memorization, everyone doing the same thing. That whole structure, built for a bygone era, it actively clashes with what we need now. Creativity, flexibility, innovation. It's kind of ironic, isn't it?
It is. And that rigidity, that legacy from the Industrial Revolution, it's especially problematic because it often discourages the very things we need most, like independent thinking, tackling complex problems. The system was built for conformity, but the world demands ingenuity.
Right. Then there's this other big issue, minimal real-life exposure. It's shocking how many students, according to our sources, graduate without knowing how to do really basic practical things, like writing a decent resume, opening a bank account, understanding taxes, even if they've technically studied related subjects like commerce or economics.
There's a huge gap there.
Yeah, this massive disconnect between the theory learned in class and how it actually applies in the real world. It leaves students feeling unprepared for adult life, for jobs. That bridge just isn't built.
And it's more than just a skills gap. It's a life readiness gap. Our sources show this disconnect creates real problems for people trying to manage money, build a career. It's like having the map but no compass, as you said.
And this next one, I think a lot of people will relate. Marks skills. The sheer emphasis on grades. In so many systems, getting 90% gets you all the praise, right? Even if another student, maybe with average grades, is fantastic at problem solving or working with people, those skills often just don't count as much.
They get overshadowed.
Totally. And the result, huge pressure. And it means real talent, especially in creative fields or hands-on skills, might never get recognized or nurtured because it doesn't fit the test score model.
In looking broader, the sources highlight the societal impact here. This narrow focus funnels people down very specific paths. You can inadvertently stifle different kinds of intelligence, different kinds of competence that are actually incredibly valuable out there. It's a systemic issue.
Another huge challenge, the lack of personalization, just none. We know everyone learns differently, right? Visual, hands-on, auditory, whatever it is. Yet the system often expects everyone to learn the same things at the same speed, take the same tests.
The one-size-fits-all trap.
Exactly. And as our sources describe it, this completely ignores individual strengths, passions, learning styles. It often leads straight to students just checking out, feeling like school isn't for them.
And what's crucial to understand is that personalization isn't just a nice extra. It's fundamental for effective learning. Without it, you don't just get boredom, you get students who can't properly grasp things, who don't reach their potential. The system itself becomes a barrier.
Okay, and the last hurdle for this section, resistance to change. Even when there are good ideas for reform from governments or wherever, getting schools to actually implement them is tough.
Inertia is powerful.
It is. The reasons mentioned are pretty stark. Lack of teacher training, maybe using outdated books or tech or just the way things have always been done. Institutional inertia. So teachers might not have the skills or resources to use new tools or methods. Progress stalls. And students get caught in the middle, limited by an old system facing new demands.
And this really speaks to the difficulty of systemic change. The sources make it clear it's often not just unwillingness. It's about lacking the support, the training, the resources for the people on the ground who have to make it happen. To get real change, you have to tackle those deeper structural issues.
So quite a journey there. We've looked at the really exciting ways education is moving forward, becoming more future ready, but we've also confronted these persistent, deep-rooted challenges holding things back. Which leads to a final thought, really for you, the listener. Given this contrast, this push towards the future versus the pull of the past, what responsibility do we have? As individuals, as learners, how much can we shape our own path and push for the changes we need?
Well, I think understanding these dynamics is empowering in itself. It helps you look critically at education, figure out what really prepares you for what's coming. And maybe, just maybe, it helps you influence things, even in small ways, for the next generation. Recognizing that education isn't just about institutions anymore, it's also about your own agency.